We'll be discussing how you can level up your portal experience. Here at ESI, our mission is to simplify the employment challenges of business, and we do that through our 3 value propositions, which is buying power, efficiencies, and expertise. We are a professional employer organization, and partnering with ESI adds to your competitive advantage, allowing our subject matter experts to help address your regulatory and compliance responsibilities. Before we get started with today's presentation, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Participants will be muted during the presentation. Please submit questions in the Q&A section. Recording and resources will be sent out following today's webinar. And as a reminder, this webinar is not a substitute for any legal advice. On today's agenda, we have manager portal capabilities, such as entering a rehire, entering and updating direct deposit information, printing paycheck stubs and W-2s, updating employee information, employee portal password assistance, making pay rate changes and position changes, and online terminations. This morning's presenters are Katrina Warren and Miranda Abrams. Katrina is an experienced HR coordinator who comes from a hospitality background. She specializes in onboarding, PTO adjustments, status change requests, and phone and web support. She enjoys spicy food that makes her break a sweat, binge watching TV, and recently has taken up an interest in the gym. Miranda is an HR coordinator with a heavy background in customer service. She has experience with many HR processes, including onboarding, FMLA, client and employee support, and background and drug testing processing. She loves to cook and being able to try out new recipes, and also enjoys reading and spending time with family and friends and her 3 pets. Our presentation today will begin with Katrina showing us how to enter rehire via the manager portal. Take it away, Katrina.
Hey everyone, good morning. So as Norma stated, I'm going to be showing you all how to enter a rehire through the manager portal. So the first thing you're going to want to do is log into the manager portal. Before you start entering a rehire, if they're going to be a full-time employee and they were full-time before, you're going to want to check and see if they have a PTO policy attached to them in their employee details. So to do that, we're going to look up that employee. You can see she's currently terminated. And she was a full-time employee, so I'm going to look at her PTO plan. To do that, we're going to go to Actions, and then PTO Register. So once this PTO Register page comes up, it automatically is going to have the employee if you went from the employee profile. And we're just going to select that register type. Some clients may have more than one or may not have PTO at all. But if you do have more than one, you could just select whichever ones you have, and then you're going to delete it. So you'll only want to do this if you want to get rid of that PTO plan. If the employee happens to be an employee who, let's say they were only not working with you guys for a week and they're coming right back and you're going to rehire them and you want them to keep that original seniority date and want them to keep their PTO, you wouldn't want to delete it. But for cases where the employee's been gone for months or even a year, you're going to want to make sure to delete this PTO plan. And we're going to press OK. It's just giving us a warning that we're deleting it. And it's going to ask if you're sure you want to delete this record, and you would just choose yes. And right now they don't have anything, so it's giving me this message. But if they did have something, it would just delete it. So after we delete the employee's PTO plan, you're going to want to make sure that that employee is eligible for rehire. So you can check that by going into the Work tab in the employee's profile still. So here we can see the term reason. It looks like they accepted another job, and we can see rehire status okay is set to no. So what this means is that the employee is not able to be rehired. So if I was to go straight to the rehire screen and try and rehire this employee, it would not allow me to do so. If you want to see why the employee was and eligible for rehire, you can go to this other screen and try and see if there's any details. If we go to the bottom, we can see a termination explanation. This one does not have one, but a lot of times we would like to encourage to add an explanation there. And then if you do decide you want to go ahead and rehire this employee, you will have to change this from no to yes or not specified. So that's completely up to you if you decide that you want to go ahead and change this to yes or no and rehire that employee. So if that is the case, I'm just going to go ahead and change this to yes, and we're going to save it. So once you've done those two things, deleting the old PTO record and checking to see if they are eligible for rehire, you can go ahead and rehire the employee after that point. So you can do that by just searching rehire in this search tab, or if you happen to have it in your favorites, you can click on this favorite bar and go to it. So I'm just going to search it. Add it to your favorites. You're just going to go to this action bar to the right and then add to favorites. Mine says remove because it's already there, but yours will just say add to favorites if it isn't. So the first thing on the rehire screen it's going to ask us for is the employee. So you can click on this for a quick link to all of the current termed employees. If a termed employee has no on there, you won't be able to see them here. So these are only the ones who are termed yes, rehire yes, or so I am going to choose Bella Storm. So it's automatically going to populate the current employment status and the current employment type. What we're going to enter is the rehire employment status. This is always going to be active. So we're changing them from a termed employee to an active employee. It's going to ask for the rehired employment type. So this is whether the employee is full-time, part-time, salary, all the different options will appear here. So you'll just choose whatever applies for them. In this case, I'm going to say they're a full-time employee. Next, it's going to ask for the rehire date. So this is going to be the date that the employee is going to start their new hire date with you. So in this case, I'm going to say their rehire date is today. And then the reason code. So this is going to be the reason for the rehire. It may be due to a COVID layoff, and then maybe you're rehiring because business came back up, a correction, a transfer, or just a general rehire. So in this case, I'm just going to say they are a regular rehire. Now for voluntary deductions, you're going to want to stop any previous deductions, and then direct deposit, we're going to stop any previous direct deposit. So we're going to want to stop anything that happened on that old profile. This may not be active anymore. The direct deposit may have changed. Once we complete the rehire, it will prompt the employee to start their onboarding, and they could add this in there. So for now, we're going to stop it. Benefit, medical, retirement, and PTO, we're going to auto enroll every single time. Even if your company does not have benefits, you're still going to want to choose that auto enroll option. For the seniority date, so this is going to be if you want to keep that original hire date for the employee. Let's say they've only stopped working for a week or 2 weeks, and you want to keep that original hire date, you're going to put the original hire date here. If the employee has been gone for a while and you decide you don't want to keep their seniority date, you're going to put their rehire date, that new hire date we have up here. So that's completely up to you. It's your decision. In this case, I'm going to say that we're using their rehire date, and this is for benefits and PTO purposes. Next, we're going to move on to personal information. So you can see that it does automatically populate the old information from the employee's profile that they had before. So you're just going to want to make sure if this is correct, you can leave it there. If it happened to be a new email, you can go ahead and make that change here as well. And then same for the mobile phone number, it will populate whatever was there before. If not, that means there was no phone number. You can go ahead and add it now. And then we're going to move on to the employment details. This automatically populates as well, whatever the employee was in their previous position. So if you need to make any changes, you can do that here. You can click on these blue quick links and they will pull up any other options that you have. In this case, we only have that one main location. If they happen to be changing positions, you can make that change here as well. So let's say he's no longer an office manager, they're going to be a receptionist. And same for the benefit groups, you can make that change if needed. I'm going to keep them primary. Some clients may have department and division as required fields. So if that is a required field, you'll just do the same thing. Just make a change if needed. If there's no changes needed, you can leave it there. We're only doing those required fields in this section. So next it's going to go on to the pay details. So it all copied from the last position. So we're going to just make any changes if needed. So we can change that pay group. I'm going to keep them as a biweekly employee, and then we can change the pay method if needed. So we can change them if they are going to now be an hourly employee. We can make that change here. You'll just want to make sure if you do that. We're going to also change the pay rate. Make sure to change the pay rate basis. It did not automatically change. So you're going to want to change this from yearly to, if they're an hourly employee, hourly. And you don't have to do anything with the standard hours. For the onboarding options, you're going to always want to choose launch onboarding for this rehire. This is what we recommend. What this is going to do, it's going to prompt the employee to log in and create an account and complete the onboarding electronically. If you choose do not launch onboarding for this rehire, you're going to have to take a paper packet from that employee and just have everything paper. So we do suggest using the launch onboarding for this rehire so they can do everything electronically and their paperwork can just save in the system. Next, it's going to ask for benefit enrollment options. So again, if your company doesn't happen to provide benefits, you're still always going to want to do this launch benefit enrollment for this rehire. If you don't have benefits, it just won't do anything. But if you do have benefits, it's going to launch that in their onboarding process as well. So once we made our selections, we're just going to verify everything we've entered is correct. And then we can go ahead and save. So once you click save, you'll notice if you scroll back to the top, it is saving your changes and it doesn't give you a message or anything. But once we look that employee up, we can see that the employee says onboarding payroll suppressed. So let me click on that. And we can see it here as well on their profile. So what this means is that the employee is currently in the onboarding status and you won't be able to make any changes. So it says save is disabled. So if I wanted to make changes to the personal profile or anything, it won't let me do that until the employee has completed their onboarding and we have approved that I-9. So during the onboarding process, no changes are able to be made. I'm going to show you guys how you can see where the employee is on the onboarding process. So to do that, we're just going to go to My Home. So I actually have it as one of my favorites. So you can click over here or you can just search it. My Home. And this page is going to show you all of your active employees automatically. So we can see a list down here, view all to see the whole thing. We're going to want to change this perspective from employees by status to onboarding task by status. So this is going to show us all of our employees who are currently in the onboarding stage. So right here, we can see that employee we just rehired, Bella Strom. Once we click on her, we can see that she has not started on anything. And we can see that it does say due today for the I-9 and the employee information. So if they do happen to pass this due date, they can still log in and register. This is just giving you the requirements of when the I-9 is required to be back. But they can still get in if they happen to pass that due date. Now, if you want to send the employee a reminder email, you can also do that from this screen. If you happen to notice that they did pass that due date or they haven't started on any of their onboarding, you can send them a reminder email by going to this actions bar right next to their name and then send reminder. And this will send them another email telling them to complete their onboarding. So the next thing I'm going to be showing you guys that you can do as a manager is you can update an employee's direct deposit. So employees can also do them themselves via the employee portal. But as a manager, you can do this as well. You do want to make sure if you are going to make any direct deposit changes to an employee's profile that they do give you a direct deposit form. So we don't want any direct deposit information via email or them just telling it to us. We do want to have, that form filled out. So once you do have that form, you can click on the employee, search them up, and then once you're in their employee profile, you're going to go to deposit. So once you're in the deposit screen, you're going to want to change the deposit status. It's either going to be on inactive or just on this select screen. You're going to want to put it active. Pay types to deposit, it's either going to be on select or all. You're going to leave it on this all fields or choose all if it's on select. Now, direct deposit information. So here it's going to ask for the direct deposit type. So you're going to choose whether it's a checking or a savings account. In this case, I'm going to say it's a checking account. Next, you're going to enter the transit number. So this should be the number on the form that the employee gave you. Once you enter that transit number, the bank name will automatically populate. So if you happen to notice that the bank name doesn't look like the bank name that they provided on the sheet, you can always look it up. They do provide like legal names sometimes. So that may be why it shows up as a different name, but you can always verify by just Googling it. Next, you're going to enter the account number found on the form. And then for pay type, we're going to choose the all option. So for pay methods, this is giving you the different options that you can use. Employees can choose to do a fixed amount. So they can choose this option and then put the amount that they would like to get deposited. They can also do a percentage. So if they want to just do a percentage of their check, a lot of times if they happen to have more than one bank account, they can do 150%. And then the other one, if they want the remaining balance on there, they would need to choose that remaining balance option. We do see, we have heard where people try to do percentage for both accounts and it won't let them. If you have two accounts, it will not allow you to do percentage for both. One will need to be percentage and the other has to be remaining balance. So if you're to do percent 50-50, it's going to give you an error. It won't allow you to. Now, if you want the entire check, if the employee happens to want the entire check in their account, you can just choose this remaining balance option and you don't have to put anything for the amount. So this will automatically give the employee the entire balance to this direct deposit account. If they have any limits, they could add that there as well. Typically, we don't see this. Now for the status, you're going to always choose pre-notification. So what this is going to do is going to verify the bank account and make sure that it is an existing account. And then this pre-notification stage does take about 2 pay periods. So you do want to inform the employee when making a direct deposit change. It's not going to be instant. They will be receiving paper checks until that pre-notification stage is complete, and then they'll receive direct deposit. Another thing employees can do is print out their payroll vouchers and their W-2 via the employee portal. You can also do that as a manager. So if the employee for any reason is not able to get into their employee portal, then you can do it for them. So to do that, you're going to go into the employee, and then we're going to go into this action screen again. And then we're going to go to Reprint W-2. If they happen to need you to reprint their W-2, we can go to this screen. It automatically has the employee since we're in the employee's profile. And then we're just going to choose the tax year. So if the employee happened to work for the company for multiple years, you'll see all the different year selections here. If not, you'll just see that 1 year they worked or however many years they worked. Those options will be here. So you'll just choose whatever year you would like to print. And then you would choose that run option. And then it would pop up, and then you can either save or download it from that screen. I don't have anything to run in this case, unfortunately. And then if you need to reprint their payroll vouchers or their check stubs to do that, it's in this action screen as well. So on this action screen, there's all these different manager functions we can do. For the payroll voucher and the check stubs, we're going to go to this payroll voucher. So you can select the year that you are looking for. In this case, I'm going to go to 2017. And you'll have your different vouchers all populate for you. So you'll just make the selection on which one you're looking for. And then once you see, once you click on that voucher, you're going to go to banking. And then you can see this option right here, reprint check stub. So once you click this, it will pop up for you. And you can either save it or print it from the screen. All right, and I'm going to send it to Miranda to go ahead and show you guys some more manager functions.
All right, thank you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to update employee information. So the first thing you need to do is go to the employee details. So we're going to select Logan James. Then you're going to need to go to the address tab. Now here you can see resident address, phone, email, as well as mailing and Form W-2 address. So to change the resident address, you're just going to enter the new information here, the street and zip code. And then we'll change the zip code. Now, once you've done those, it's actually going to autofill for the city, state, county. You may see this pop up for some zip codes. This is just asking you to confirm the city or the county. So we're going to select the correct one. Now, keep in mind that updating the resident address is not going to change the mailing address. So if they have a different mailing address, you need to confirm that this information is still correct. To change or add a phone number, you're going to come over here, select home phone or cell phone, and then you're going to enter that new number. And to change or add an email, you're going to select a personal email or a work email, and then you're either going to change or add that email. Now you can also select a preferred email here. You can choose, you just need to click this button next to primary for whichever email address you want to be the default. Now, once all of the information has been entered, you're just going to come down here and click save. And now if we reload that employee's details, go back to the address tab, we can see all those changes have been made. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the employee's password. So employees can change their own passwords in the employee portal, but if for any reason you need to change the password for them, you're going to go into the employee's details, select actions, and change user password. And so here we can see the current username. All we're going to do is enter a new password. Sorry, hold on. And then you're going to need to retype that. To confirm. So once it sees that the passwords match, you're going to see these check marks. We do recommend that all passwords be at least 8 characters long, and for security purposes, they should have a combination of capital letters, lowercase letters, and numbers or symbols. Once you've entered the new password, you're going to click Save to set it. Now, it may be beneficial for the employee to go in and create their new password, their own new password the next time they log in. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you are position changes. So again, you're going to need to select the employee whose position you're changing. I'm going to use Logan James again. You're going to need to make sure you're on this name tab and then come down to position change. So this is going to pull up the employee's name and current position information. The first thing we need to do is enter a new position code. We can click here on this quick link. This is going to pull up a list of all of the existing positions. So we're going to select Marketing Director as the new position. Next, we need to enter the new position's start date. So this is whatever date the position change is going to be active. So we're going to select today's date. And then a new position reason code. This can be an annual review, a correction, promotion, or transfer. Or if it's none of those, you can select other. If it is based on a recent review, you do have the option to add that review date here, but this is optional. You don't have to enter it. Once all of the information has been entered, you're going to need to click Save. Now, if we go back to the employee details, we do not see this change yet. What we need to do to see that change is we're going to need to reload this page. So we're going to pull his details up again. And now we can see that active position change. Now, one other reason why you might not see the position change is if it was set for a future date. This is only going to show active positions. So if you need to see whether or not the position change has been entered for a future date, you're going to select Actions and come to Position History. And this screen is going to show all of the position changes made for this employee from the time they were hired, including future position changes. Now I'm going to show you how to do a pay change. So again, from the employee details, you're going to want to go to this Pay tab. This is going to pull up all of the pay details for this employee. It's going to show you their pay method over here, their pay group, and then on this side, we can see their pay rate information. So to make a pay change, we're going to click Pay Rate Change. This is going to pull up all of the current pay rate information. The first thing we need to do is enter a new pay rate. Once we've done that, we need to select the pay rate basis. So this is going to be how often they're getting paid that new pay rate. For new standard hours, we can just click in this box. And that's going to autofill the standard hours for the existing pay period information. So you can just leave that how it is. Next, we have auto pay time card. Now, this is only for salaried employees. What it does is it's going to auto populate the hours on the timesheet. So if you would like your employee to be automatically paid for a standard number of hours, you're going to click this box and then enter the default number of hours per pay period in this blank right here. The next thing we need to do is enter the effective date for the pay change. So I'm going to select today's date. And then we'll need to select a reason. So you can just click this drop-down menu and select one of these reasons. If none of these apply, you can select other. Once all the information has been entered, you're going to want to save it. Now, if we go back to the employee details, we can see that pay rate has been changed. If it is not an active pay rate change, if you set it for a future date, to find that information, you're going to go to Actions and Pay History. And this is going to show all of the pay change information from the date that the employee was hired. Now, if you happen to be changing the employee's pay method, so from hourly to salary or commission, you're going to need to do that on this original pay screen. So you're going to need to come over here to Pay Method and select the new pay method. Once that's done, you'll want to go to the bottom of the page and save it. All right. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to terminate an employee in the manager portal. So to get to the termination screen, you can click Employee Termination in your favorites if you have it saved. If you don't have it saved, you can just type that up here. And that's going to take you to the employee termination screen. So the first thing we need to do is select the employee being terminated. You can click this link but this is going to pull up all of your active employees. So it may be easier to search their name here. So once you've selected the employee, it's going to pull up their current employment information. The first thing we need to do is set the termination status code. This is always going to be terminated. Next, we need to select a reason code. So you can click the drop down and choose from one of these reasons. I'm going to say accepted another job. Next, we need to enter the termination date. So this should be whatever date you're entering the termination. So it should be the current date. Now, we do recommend that you enter terminations as soon as the employee leaves the company, because if you wait, there may be issues with ending the benefits, or there may be compliance issues with state pay laws. After that, you're going to select whether the employee is okay to rehire. So you can leave this on not specified, or you can change it to yes or no. As Katrina mentioned earlier, if you do select no, you're not going to be able to rehire this employee later without coming in and changing this option. So I'm going to say yes, she is eligible for rehire. Next, we see this checkbox, if ACH, turn off ACH. This is direct deposit. So if your employee has a direct deposit account, we recommend you leave this box unchecked to avoid any delays in the employee receiving their final pay. After that, we have the last day worked. This should be the last date that the employee actually worked. So whether that's the same day you're entering the termination or not, you need to be selecting the employee's last actual day. So we are going to say that that is the current day. Next, we have reassign pending approvals. Now the termination approval is actually going to default to your payroll specialist, so you should just leave this blank. Next is the termination explanation. So here you have the option to enter a detailed explanation regarding the employee's termination. This is not required, but if you do have additional information on the termination, we recommend that you fill that in here, as it might be helpful for any unemployment claims or anything like that. After that is the unpaid PTO payout. So payout for unused PTO is going to be per your company's policy. If your company does not pay for unused PTO, you can just leave this on no. But if your company does pay unused PTO, you're going to change this to yes. And what that's going to do is it's going to add any unused PTO hours to the employee's current timesheet. All right, and the last thing we have on the termination screen is the Cobra qualifying event. Now, if your employee does not have benefits, you're not going to be able to interact with these at all. But if the employee does have benefits, you need to always select yes here for Cobra qualifying event. And this is not going to determine eligibility. The only thing this is going to do is create a notification record for the benefits department. For Cobra qualifying event date, this should always be the same as the termination date. So whatever day you're entering this termination should be the date that you enter here. After you've confirmed all of this information is correct, you're going to click Save. And so we see here this pop-up, this termination has been submitted for approval. Once the termination's been submitted, it's going to go to the payroll specialist. If any information was filled out incorrectly, they're going to deny that termination and then send you an email letting you know that corrections need to be made. We're going to click OK. And now if we look this employee up, we can see that she actually still shows as active for now. That's because the termination hasn't been approved yet. Once the termination has been approved, this active status is going to change and say terminated. Okay, and now I'm going to pass it back to Norma for any questions.
Thank you, ladies, for that very informative presentation on the many self-service capabilities available on the manager portal. And it looks like we do have a few questions here, and we can get to those. First question, can employees make any of these changes on their own? Miranda, can you take that?
Yeah, I can. So employees can do some of these things for themselves in the employee portal. Out of all the functions that we've talked about here today, the ones that employees can do are they can make changes to their address and contact information. They can change their own passwords. They can update or add direct deposit accounts, and they can print their own W-2s and pay stubs.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's see. Why is it important to delete the PTO plan prior to initiating a rehire? Can you help with that, Katrina?
Yeah, so you're going to want to delete that previous PTO plan, because if you don't, it will, and you're only deleting it again if you don't want them to keep that seniority date. So that's to eliminate that old PTO plan. So if they had any existing PTO and you don't delete it, it's going to automatically give them that PTO once you enter them as a rehire.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. What happens if I turn in a termination late? Miranda, I think you touched on that a little bit. Can you elaborate a little more?
Yeah, of course. So there are a few things that can happen with a late termination. So the first thing is that if benefits don't get terminated in time, your company would actually be responsible for paying any premiums that are charged after the employee's effective termination date. Another thing is that different states have different laws on when the company has to pay the employee's final check. So if you wait too long, you may be out of compliance with those pay laws. And of course, another big thing is that employees could accidentally be paid for time they didn't work if they're still listed in the timesheet. And there isn't really usually a way to get that money back from the employee's bank account. So we do recommend that you send in terminations within 24 hours so that we can avoid all of that.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for that. We also had one more that came in here. It was during the rehires. If we know their direct deposit didn't change, can we leave it as is? Can you help with that, Katrina?
Yeah, so we do always recommend to just go ahead and have the employee re-enter that information.
Yeah. So yeah, you'd have to really, really be sure that that's there, that the direct deposit hasn't changed. And if you're launching electronic workflow, they're already responsible for entering the information. So, I mean, yeah, I agree, Katrina. Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions we have. I want to thank all of our presenters for a very thorough and informative presentation. And we want to thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning to learn how you can level up your portal experience. As mentioned earlier, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar, as well as resources to reference, and our booking page, so you can schedule a training with one of our wonderful presenters. We want to thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.